Well, all right, guys. The next topic we having is the street logic versus the corporate logic, and that's why I got my corporate suit on. It's gonna get corporate in here today. Um, a lot of times when you're young, when you grow up around that street mentality, you have I had a hard time transitioning to the corporate mentality because a lot of times when you're dealing with people in the streets, you know what I'm saying, it's a little different. But when you start realizing it's kind of some commonalities or similarities between the two. One thing in the street mentality is, I think that's learned, people don't really talk about is people try to take advantage of people, like, kind of like a salesman, kind of like the furniture salesman, try to sell you, the bad couch, but he make it look good, It's that kind of mentality, like if you don't negotiate, like in the corporate world, they tell you, you don't negotiate, you're not going to get your worth. But a lot of people, when they talking to you about it, if you don't know that you can negotiate, you won't, because you don't want to lose their job at the same time. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So they could prey on you with the fear of this person we just going to throw this at them and they're going to take it, and that's what it's going to be. So, and a lot of times through the street logic will make you stronger mentally to be able to deal with something and not get so reactionary about it, because like me and Jay used to always talk about, being physical in the street world will build your reputation. Being physical in the corporate world is assault and battery in the law. That can send you to jail. So, that's the thing you got to think about, man. So you got any thoughts on that, bro?
Yeah, the street or hood logic versus the professional or corporate logic. There's a lot of skills that you develop in the hood doing the survival that you can translate over there. So we're not saying, this and that. You gotta be different. You gotta code switch, or you gotta act completely different. You got to learn which skills are transferable.
Right. Exactly.
Like your physical skills about, I don't talk much. I talk with my hands. You know what I mean? Right. Or I let my gun do the talking. It's kind of maybe not going to work out.
Right.
But I've seen people, facilitate drug deals, or maybe beat somebody up, or even shoot at people, will get to go to job interviews and be nervous. Mm-hmm. Like and not negotiate, not sell themselves. I'm like, well, you stared down the barrel of a gun. Why are you nervous? Because this guy in a suit or a bow tie, is asking you questions. You gotta try to transition those skills and that confidence. That sometimes that salesmanship, already, you can sell, you can sell weed, you can sell a pound, and you can negotiate that, and when you're being hustled or somebody's trying to, oversell a product that's not good. You got to take that same confidence into there, and you got to kind of develop that and know that this is a negotiation. You're selling yourself. You want to get the skills required to navigate, professionally as well. Take your salesmanship. If you can take a chance on going to jail, invest in yourself, because you have
right.
Time, right? Time is just like money. So, front yourself some time, or, just take some time and invest that, toward going to school or this and that. You might end up in debt. You know what I mean? You might not finish the degree, but you took a chance. You know what I mean? Start your own business legitly. You know what I mean? Take that chance. I mean, if you'll take a chance taking a ride, to Texas, to pick up a package and, go to jail, that money might, it'll probably spin fast, but like I say, you risk something. So still be that same risk taker, to go sell, or to go pick up something, or go, take somebody, or do whatever you have to do. Use that fearlessness, that aggressiveness. Take that to the professional world and try to transition it. We'll give you some examples.
The thing that I'm most interested when people be saying that you go to college, it's a lot of debt. It's a lot of debt. When you have, it's two different logics. You got the regular logic, or you have corporate logic. This is when the corporate logic can help you. If you go to college and you get a refund, which most people do, and you do not invest it or put it in somewhere that can bring you more money back, guess what? You're gonna put yourself in debt, and you're gonna be mad and be sour because now you in debt. You can take that refund money and invest that money. You can take that money and put it in a Roth IRA. I think that's what it's called, Roth IRA account, and let it build stocks. You don't have to have a 401k from a job. You can build your own 401k with the money that you get from a refund from college. Now, do you have to put all of it in there? No, it will be good, but you can put a percentage of it in there. And guess what? If you do that every semester while you're in college, I promise you by the time you get out of college, if you do not touch it, that will be part of your retirement plus whatever career field you go into. Now, a lot of people, when they talking about debt and all this stuff, do you pick the right field that's going to pay you, or do you just graduate school to say, I graduated? Two totally different things. Two totally different. No, that's probably a whole nother discussion. But
and like I say, we're going into that. He just said something on the corporate or professional side that a lot of you are already thinking. You know, you're thinking like, well, this is a different train of thought. Like, I don't think like that. The thing is, you do. Yeah. A lot of times when you get those refund checks, the first thing you hear, I want to flip it.
Right.
And that's just what he said. He said the same thing. You know what I mean? But it's just different terminology. Well, we're gonna flip that money. Or he was telling you like a legit way to flip it. We just have knowledge of our environments. We're from the hood. We're from the street. So I know a lot more about flipping it than putting it in some kind of Roth IRA or something like that. I don't know what that is. That's Latin to me.
Right.
But that's the same thing that you're already on the same mentality. Oh, I'm gonna buy this car, I'm gonna fix it up, or I'm gonna go buy a pound or this or that, and then I'm gonna use this money to buy this amount, and then I'm gonna flip this money and do this. It's the same thing. A lot of you hood mentality is parallel with the professional corporate mentality. You already have the type of mindset. You just don't have the knowledge because it's just not there and being presented. So you kind of have to look for it, but you have to take that same logical mentality and try to see, man, is there some kind of legal way I can do this? Talk to people like as far as like mentorship, like what did you do? How did you do this? Because we want to make our money grow. Because that's why a lot of people are taking these penitentiary transits trying to flip this money. I took one semester of college, gave me $5,000 back, and I went and bought this, and now I lost time because I went to the penitentiary, or I took a loss when I got pulled over by the cops, or I was robbed. You know what I mean?
And that's another thing people don't think about with that street logic. I think people don't, especially when you're younger, is the stress that comes with rolling in that street logic. Like say you want to be a hustler, right? The mindset that you have to think, you have to constantly think about what you're doing, where you're at, where can I go, where can't I go? When I meet somebody, is this person gonna shoot me a fair deal, or is this person gonna kill me? In the streets, I said you got to put in work. If you don't put in work and have a reputation, people are going to look at you as a chump. I'm telling you, you have to put in work. There's no way you can do both and be peaceful and a good guy and be in the streets. It won't work. Even the people who are the ones who have the reputation, sometimes they get caught slipping too. You have to constantly think about what's behind you, what's on the side of you, what's in front of you when you're in the streets. Corporate world, it could be the same way, but you won't go to jail behind stuff, but you can recover faster. You can find you another job, because people in the corporate world, they'll stab you in the back. They'll put salt on your name. They'll always try to make you quit your job, or try to get you to, what they say, try to break you or whatever. But guess what? If you survive that street mentality, and it's like, if they did this on the streets and I came out of it, of course, corporately, this ain't nothing. I mean, ain't nobody putting a gun to my head. Ain't nobody making me do this. I'm not going to give anybody the pleasure to see me do something reactionary, do something crazy so they can say I got them.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that. And most people, when they don't get their pleasure, they get even madder. It's the funniest thing.
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to trigger you into doing something, and they get mad because the trigger not working. It's the craziest thing. And what was I about to say? Another thing is different words that we'll say like perception, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the hood, it's people that live in the hood. They may have money, but they don't give out the perception that they have it. That's another thing you got to think about. It's like living in the streets, but they still got the corporate mindset. It's like living in the hood, but you making six figures, but because the house is cheaper. They don't want to live in the heights. They don't want to live, grand. They want to still live their same lifestyle and maintain the money that they have, so they don't drive a Bentley, like living in Southwest driving a Bentley. You know what I'm saying? In the hood, that brings a lot of attention to you. And another thing is, if you are working a job, I've seen this happen. You may have seen this happen. Let's say a dude working a job. Let's say you're working in Walmart, right? Oh, not Walmart, retail store.
All right.
A people greeter. And he drive a Mercedes to work. I've seen this happen to managers be like, hey man, we're not paying you that much money, man. Why are you driving a Mercedes to work? Is it their business? No. But they will grill you about it. I've seen it happen. They'll grill you about it. Some people, that they might not directly fire you for it, but they will come at you about it. That's how the corporate world works. They can come at you in different ways. And you mentally have to have the strength to be able to endure that and not let that shake you. And you got to know how to play that game, street logic and chess game. But the streets is more stressful because if somebody, I know you know this too, if somebody takes something from you and you don't get that back, it's gonna be a continual circle of people taking stuff from you. Especially when you get older, they're like, oh, he ain't gonna do nothing. I took that from him. He ain't gonna do nothing. So you have to be mindful, man. That street logic is something different, man. And a lot of people, man, get caught up in that web, man. And you don't want to get caught up in the law, man. Because when you get caught up in the system, the law, man, it's really hard to get out, man.
Yeah, and that's
probation and parole, and you gotta do this, you gotta do that. You can't do this, man. It's crazy.
And that's very hard. Now, a lot of us are attached to the street, or attached to our hoods. I mean, like I said, I'm from there. You're raised in a certain area, but sometimes just being there will force you to do things that you really don't want to do or make decisions you don't have to. Somebody takes something from you. Yeah. Now you're working a good job. You know what I mean? You're in a good company, and you know what I mean? Something happens to your mom, sister, brother. You want to go back to that hood life, like, well, somebody broke in my house, like, and you know what that entails, or your apartment, and you know what that kind of entails. Like, now, man, somebody gonna be trying to break in my apartment like all the time now, and now you got to make a hood decision just to protect yourself and to stay safe. So sometimes you got to move out of that environment or do something else. Now you're putting your whole job at risk, or your future. You know what I mean? Or your college, like you in school, now you might have to try to almost shoot somebody or beat somebody up. And, like, man, I'm a college student. Why am I? So you got to do hood stuff. So you got to move out. And
then another thing is with perception, right? I had to go through this. You wearing suits, wearing bow ties, wearing ties and stuff. When I was coming up, just wear jeans, polo shirts. A button-down shirt and some khakis or something. You didn't really wear suits and nothing like that. Jordan, I had more tennis shoes than I had dress shoes. Polo boots. Mm-hmm. But when you get older, and when I started working, especially in IT, and I could see different positions for what they were and different guys, I saw the guys that were making at the top of the food chain or the top of the pyramid. Those guys was wearing like wing-toe shoes, tailored blazers or whatever. Ties, they was pretty much dressing like business casual every day. But the street logic, if you dress like that, they'll eat you alive sometime. They're like, man, what you doing, man? Call you Uncle Tom, man, because you wearing a tie, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, a lot of times it's camouflage, it's status, everything in the business, corporate world, professional world says something about you. And the same thing, everything, and so many parallels. What you're wearing in the streets, let people know how much money you have. Right. You're not I'm successful. I'm this successful in the game. Right. This is the level of the game that I'm on. And by me, I can wear this chain. Right. I can wear these $300, $400 shoes. Right. in the hood because I paid my dues.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it shows you that, like, man, he wearing that. He ain't scared to get robbed. No, because he's earned his respect.
Right.
And it's everything that a person wears in the streets, their cars they drive in the streets, tells you something about them. Yeah. Same thing with in the corporate world. You know what I mean? That's a $3,000 suit.
Yep.
He wore to work.
Easy.
He wore that to work.
His watch, a Rolex watch, costs $15,000, y'all. I don't got one. I'm just telling you, that dude cost them.
And they're wearing this to work, and it's telling. Sometimes that's a motivation to some of the lower level people. Like, hey, man, I'm trying to get to where he is. Yeah. If I work hard or I do this, it all sets a standard. And we talked about people preying on you in the street life, the stress.
Right.
Guess what? It's stress on both ends.
Right.
Now you're gonna take a stress that might be end you in a penitentiary. You know what I mean? Or end up with a bullet in your head.
Right.
Your mama house shot up. You know what I mean? Some people it's just as stressful. I mean, if you're in the stock or sales, you can lose all your money. You know, you dedicate all this time to go to school. You know what I mean? You're gonna take risks and losses on both sides. So if you, like he said, if you survive, you know, guns to your head, being robbed, you know, living on ramen noodles in the hood, that's what mom cooked for dinner.
Yep.
If you can survive that stress, you started from the bottom. You can start over again. So get out there. Don't be afraid to take risks. You've already survived so much stress. You can just take it. It's a different type of stress going from the hood to the professional,
right.
to the professional realm. So you can do it. Take those skills.
Right.
Don't be nervous in front of a man asking for a promotion.
Right.
Don't be nervous about moving to a different job.
Right.
It's just like, man, if you sold any kind of product drugs are a product. So if you can sell those, you know the demand, you know your worth, sell yourself. Don't be scared to go get a better price. If you had a good product, you're going to get the best price. You're going to hustle. If you can be up at 5 o'clock in the morning hustling, you can be up 5 o'clock in the morning preparing to be ready for 8 o'clock. Right. You know what I mean? It's a lot of parallels. You know what I mean? You know, if people want to shine, people want to floss. Well, instead of flossing with a chain, you like to say, like, you still can wear the big watch. You know what I mean? You can still wear different things. So, man, just choose. You get to choose your stress.
And then if you get a chance, go do your research. When you work at the executive level, like when you get there, from what I saw, a lot of them, they have they have a golden parachute. That means like if they get fired, they have things in place. They have monetary things in place that won't let you just fall flat on your back. It's like almost like
sometimes they come from generational wealth.
No, I'm talking about built-in jobs, like in jobs.
Oh yeah,
they have like golden parachute. Yeah, you don't get that in the street. Ain't no golden parachute. If you fall, you fall, and most of the time you don't have anybody there to bail you out or get you out. You have to be able to bail yourself out, and that's one thing that I seen growing the streets. You have to rely on yourself. You can't trust anybody. And sometimes in the corporate world, it could be the same way. You have to build up yourself. You have to build up your skill set. You have to understand what you're weak and what you're strong at. And you have to put in the time to build up your strengths and lessen your weaknesses. You can't trust anybody else to do that for you because most of the time they will not do that for you because a person will feel, if I do that for you, that's going to affect me in the future. You may take my position. It's people that think like that. But in order to bypass that, sometimes you have to deal with people like that to get to point B. That's the people in the middle. But you have to build yourself. You have to make sure and be accountable and say, hey, I need to work on this. I need to make this happen. And understand that everybody is not going to like you improving because it's going to be a threat to them. But you have to do that. Don't worry about another person's perception because you got to deal with you at the end of the day.
Yeah, and with that being said, you can do all those things correctly. You can grow. You can use all these things. But you still have to be able to take risks. The same thing within the streets.
Right.
Get a better price on yourself because some people are not going to hate on you. They're going to encourage you. They're going to tell you to do things, but they're not going to tell you to move up. They're going to let you develop all those skills and stay right there under them, underpay you, undervalue you, and you're going to work hard and you're going to end up being right there under them. They're going to use you. They're going to use you for your skills. They're going to be like, hey, we got to do this project. You end up doing the work, they turn it in, they get the credit.
Right.
They get that sale.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Just like in the streets. These people aren't, just because they're wearing a suit and tie don't mean you can per se trust them. You know what I mean? And there's some practices that they do that's just normal.
Right.
You know what I mean? You kind of got to hustle for yourself. Sometimes you got to move around to different companies and sell yourself. And we're talking about golden parachutes and having things to fall back on. A lot of times with the street, and you try to convert that money to something you can set up for your kids. Well, once they find out some money dirty, they can't separate the dirty money from the clean, so they end up seizing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Your wife owns a legit business. You know what I mean? You out here,
right.
selling, different things. They catch you. Now they taking the business because they believe
right.
they can't tell which assets came from illegal stuff. So you can lose even the illegal things that you try to set up with some of that money. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now, of course, with there's also risk. With different types of investments, there are high risk investments, and you can lose all your money because that's kind of sometimes that's like gambling. There are safer options to maintain your
right.
money, but sometimes hood or street money, they can take it all. They can come in your house and seize it all.
They can. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, well, I kept the money in my walls. You know what I mean? And starting over from scratch. We've seen
if somebody take your stuff, who you gonna call? If you're in the street, you got dirty money, street stuff. If somebody come in and rob you, who you gonna call?
And they said they took X amount of money. Well, now other question. We know people personally who've had multiple, like Mercedes, like Rolex watches, sitting around, like designer suits, stuff like that, cash cakes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, like, they sitting, man, they working like in Walmart. I've seen pictures with you sitting on money.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or sitting on like drugs, and it's like they do a little time and they come out with no experience. Nobody says, hey man, I was holding your money for you. Right. No, the police don't give you half of that money back.
Oh no.
Now
we put in the interest fund for you. So
like I said, now you're 47 years old, you're 30, or you're 27, you get out of jail after 5 years, and then you don't really have, some of these people don't even have a GED.
They don't.
You are a millionaire without graduating from high school, and now I'm like trying to start over at 25, and it's like, man, and it's hurt. Like, mental health is a big issue because to deal with having money, to owning houses, to having people have stuff in your name, going to the car lot buying stuff cash, to going to have to work a 9 to 5 as a janitor.
Yeah.
After having, that's psychologically it's hard
to
sum
it all up, youth, please be smart and understand that every road you go down has an ending to it. And the power of choice and the power of decision making is a real thing. And you got to understand, when you make a choice, there's going to be a cost associated with it. So really think about what you want to do and how you want to do it, and understand what's the end game. What's going to come from me doing this? Like, what's my chance of success? What's my chance of losing? What's my chance of winning? Because there is a cost. You will have to pay the piper at the end of that road. And if you pick the wrong road, you got to pay the piper at the end of that road. It ain't going to be fun, I promise you. You want anything before we close out this topic?
I'm good.